Yo, what's up, guys? Holy shit, guys. That was too close for comfort, guys. My God. But the Toronto Maple Leafs find a way to get the win in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, beating the Ottawa Senators 3-2 in overtime, guys. Now, guys, I think we could all agree that the Leafs stole this hockey game tonight, guys. Not a very good performance by the Leafs tonight, guys. I will say, I thought the Leafs had a really solid first period, of course, guys. Leafs take an early 2-0 lead in the game, guys. William Nylander makes a great play to make a pass to Morgan Riley, guys, to make it 1-0 as we saw. Then we saw the same thing after with John Tavares trying to get the puck in front of net, going off an Ottawa Senator, making it 2-0 for the Leafs, guys. And we saw the Maple Leafs power play, staying red hot, 4 for 7, guys. The first two games of the playoffs, really good numbers, of course, compared to last year where the Leafs were like 1 for 21 in the series against Boston last year in the playoffs, guys. So the Leafs did a really good job getting a couple early goals, guys. Started to dictate play a little bit. But then, unfortunately, guys, you saw Ottawa starting to push, starting to play their game. They were starting to outshoot the Maple Leafs, of course, guys. And then we obviously saw what happened, the Leafs and Ottawa, Ottawa started pushing, like I mentioned. The Leafs were looking flat at times in this game, guys, especially in that second period, guys. Pretty horrendous second period by the Leafs, extremely flat. Ottawa was dictating play. The Leafs had 3 shots on net. Just an absolutely horrendous period by the Maple Leafs. And then, of course, the Leafs are up 2-0. And then, of course, this guy, Nick Robertson, takes a stupid high-sticking penalty in Ottawa's end, guys. And then, of course, the Senators find a way to score a goal on that penalty that Nick Robertson commits and makes it 2-1, guys. You know what I mean? Like, this guy, Nick Robertson, he does not have a bloody brain in that head of his. The last 2 games, guys, he's got 3 freaking penalties. 2 of them have been high sticks. And the high stick he gets tonight, he's not even looking at the guy, and he takes 2 minutes and he costs the team. I'm sorry, guys. This guy, Nick Robertson, is a bloody detriment to this team. Okay, sure, he's a nice player. He scores goals. He skates. Sure, he checks here and there. But this guy is going to screw us again in this series if he plays again, guys. I'm sorry. I do not want Nick Robertson in Game 3 when they play the Senators in Ottawa Thursday night. I'm sorry. No. Max Pacioretty needs to come into the lineup, guys. You got to put Pontus Holmberg at third-line center, shift Domi to right wing, Bobby McMahon on left wing, and then put Pacioretty at second-line left wing with Willie and John. And speaking of Domi and Bobby McMahon, they didn't have great nights either. I think we could all agree until we saw what happened in overtime regarding Max Domi, guys. But before I get into that, the Leafs in that third period, on top of that, after Ottawa cutting it down to 2-1, the Leafs had no response. Like, I'm so surprised that they had nothing to their game in that second and third period, guys. Ottawa was the way better team. Sure, they didn't test Olmark a lot, the Leafs, you know what I mean? But Ottawa was getting shots on net. Stoley was playing great again. He was playing out of his mind. And both those goals weren't his fault. Even on the second goal, Ekman Larson turns the puck over, and then Ottawa gets the puck, and then Gaudette gets a tip on it to make it 2-2. Stoley can't do anything on both those goals, guys. I think we could agree on that Stoley's not at fault for either of the goals. The Leafs put themselves in this position, going up 2-0 and then blowing a 2-0 lead. You can't do that in the playoffs. You got to shut it down. And then the way the Leafs play, like I said, guys, is just too flat. You got to give Ottawa some credit. They battled. They worked. They did a lot of good things in tonight's game. You got to give Ottawa some credit. This is not going to be an easy series, guys. But the Leafs, they showed their experience. They're big dogs. They weren't really showing up much tonight, guys. I thought Matthews played okay, but on the score sheet, guys, the Leafs weren't doing much, getting shots on net. They were really flat most of this game. And then obviously we saw what happened in overtime. Thank God Max Domi scores that beautiful goal, an absolute snipe. But you got to give Simone Benoit a lot of bloody credit on this goal, guys. He makes that great defensive play to break it up in the Leafs, and then he brings it up ice with just him and Domi 2-on-4. And then Domi finds a way to get it past Batherson, and then he snipes it past Olmark. It was a spectacular goal. But Domi had a shit game before he scored that goal, guys. I think we could all agree that it was not a great game by that third line specifically. Domi and McMahon have been pretty shit the first 2 games. Bobby McMahon has been pretty putrid the last 3 weeks of the season, guys. He hasn't been scoring much. And then you take stupid penalties like Robertson and vice versa. It's like, you guys cannot be doing these type of things in the playoffs. You're a veteran hockey team. And Ottawa's an inexperienced team. Sure, Travis Green's going to go out and say in his press conference, oh, we deserve to win tonight. Sure, we got the win tonight, guys. That's all that matters. We're up 2-0. First time the Leafs are up 2-0 in a series since 2002 against the New York Islanders. Incredible to see, guys. Sure, the Leafs are 10-0 with winning the first 2 games at home against the Senators, guys. Whoop-de-doo. But you guys got to win this series in convincing fashion. You cannot let Ottawa feel like they have a chance to come back into this series. You got to go into Game 3 now and find a way to shut Ottawa down. You got to make it a 3-0 series, guys, because Ottawa, they played really well tonight. They even played well even in Game 1. They were the better team 5-on-5, outshot the Maple Leafs. They have a lot of positives, the Senators, going back home to Ottawa. They're going to feel pretty confident about their game going back home. The Maple Leafs got to shore up some things. Like I said, make a couple lineup changes on the forward lines. The D core, I thought the D was fine tonight. I thought the defense core was good tonight, guys. But unfortunately, the forwards were flat. They were way too flat for my liking tonight in the second and third period. And it's unacceptable, guys. You cannot be blowing these leads, like I said. The Leafs got to find a way to shut Ottawa down. Get that third bloody goal. Do not give this team life. And, this game here didn't have to go to overtime. The Leafs didn't have to make it so nail-biting as it was, right, guys? But at the end of the day, guys, the most important thing is the Leafs got the win tonight. Like I said, up 2-0 since 2002. First time ever. 23 years it's been. I still cannot believe it, guys, how long it's been since the Leafs have taken a 2-0 lead in a series. But it's fantastic to see. The Leafs control their own destiny now, guys. Even if you go to Ottawa and get a split, you have an opportunity to come back home up 3-1 and possibly a chance to close out the series. That is the absolute must, is get one win in Ottawa, guys. And listen, we know a lot of Leaf fans are going to be in Ottawa, guys. It's going to be a very back-and-forth crowd between Sens fans and Leaf fans. It's going to be a very good atmosphere. But we need better performances than we had tonight, guys. Last game, Leafs played great. Obviously, they played better with the special teams. They killed Ottawa's special teams. The only power play they got tonight, they scored on it, of course. The guys on the Leafs have to find ways to dominate the game, guys. They didn't do that tonight at times. Like I said, flat too many times in this game tonight, guys. The Leafs got to play better. More 60-minute hockey in the next game, guys. Ottawa, like I said, give them some credit. Good young team. They got some talent. They're going to make it very difficult for the Maple Leafs, guys, come Thursday night, guys, in Game 3. So, Stolarz has been solid. I would make some changes on the forward line, specifically Nick Robertson. I'm not playing him in Game 3. I do not trust him moving forward. And if I'm Craig Berube, I wouldn't either. Sure, he played them a couple shifts in overtime that led to the Domi goal. But for me, guys, it's just too much of a risk to playing guys who cause you too many problems with penalties and turnovers. I just do not trust Nick Robertson moving forward, guys. After what I've seen the last 2 games, just inexcusable penalties at inexcusable times, guys. But, guys, other than that, the Leafs found a way to win. I thought the D-core was good, like I said. I thought Benoit specifically had a good night. He was probably one of the better defensemen. Stolarz was great again tonight, guys. I thought he was spectacular again. Made some big saves for the Leafs tonight against the Senators. The forward lines, they got to do better. I thought John Tavares was playing well in the first period. Had another goal and an assist tonight. John's playing really well. He's got more points in this series than he did all of last year. Same with Mitch Marner, guys. William Nylander had some good moments in tonight's game, but they need to do better, guys. I think we could all agree that the Leafs need to do better. This wasn't the best performance tonight. You still got the window. That's all that matters. Go into Ottawa on Thursday night, guys. Try to get another win. Make it a 3-0 lead. Get the stranglehold on the Senators, guys. And then we'll see what happens in Game 4 and possibly Game 5, guys. But listen, not the best performance tonight by the Maple Leafs tonight, guys. They found a way to win. That's all that matters. Great to see the Maple Leafs take a 2-0 series lead. This is something new for us, of course. We have not seen it in the Core 4 era. So let's just hope the Leafs continue to build momentum, have a better performance, guys, on Thursday night. And we'll see what happens then, guys. But, guys, that's it for this video today. Thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, like if you like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Go Leafs, go, guys. And remember, if you do not watch sports, you're more. Ciao, guys.